Good morning and welcome to Haventree Parent Podcast, where we get a chance to talk about something that's important to us and to you before our kids wake up.
Today we're talking about how we organize our homeschooling day and room, or lack thereof, I guess.
Right, so like she said, today we're going to talk about just the setup that we have for our homeschool for our kids, and just the way that we think it's best to organize for the different grades and how we're putting them together, and just how we're seating arrangement around the dining room table, as I'm sure everybody's planning to have a similar setup right now, because I don't think everybody planned to have 5 desks or however many kids you have, and plus yourself trying to work from home. Right. So I'm sure some rooms are getting converted into some interesting spaces, which I would be glad to see. So please post comments and links, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So you bring up a good point that, it's not just for those choosing to homeschool, but those that are starting out remote learning too, and trying to figure out how to organize that and keep track of things. A lot of kids that are doing remote learning are being sent home like an iPad or a Chromebook or something like that, plus all of their school supplies. And so there's just a lot of things to keep track of, plus the normal things that you need throughout the day to get your schoolwork done.
Right, exactly. Because usually most homes are we have the family computer or whatever.
Right.
Ours is next to the piano, and we have the printer there and the family computer. So it's but it's multi-use, but not everybody can do that from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or whatever your hours are, to do your working from home, plus your kids, plus whatever else. So, there has to be people creating all sorts of cool spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think
Dad's game rooms are getting invaded. So.
You wish you had a dad's game room to get invaded, right?
Yeah, I mentioned it so I can get there.
So, we actually don't have a dedicated homeschool room. When we moved to this house, we originally took sort of like the breakfast nook that's in our home, because we have a big family. The breakfast nook situation was not really very useful for us.
Yeah, we're not going to put a little round table there with 3 chairs.
Right, there was no use to us of having that space with the table and chairs when our whole family wouldn't fit around it.
Right. Yeah.
So it had
but it's a great central location, and so it was ideal for setting it up to be a homeschool space, because it was she could watch whatever was going on crockpot wise for dinner, and and watch whatever kids were doing their learning there, and it was a nice space for being central to. Mom, I need help on this question.
Right. Well, and the nice thing too, so we have a countertop bar in that space. And so we have chairs for the kids. And so, I wasn't bending over a whole lot to the table and things like that, because the counter's taller. Right. And so it was easy to just kind of lean over and answer questions or teach with them and things like that. This year, because there's more kids homeschooling, that was a little bit too crowded. It worked really well when I had just Adri or just Adri and Josiah. Now with 4 doing real school at home every day.
Yeah,
there's not enough space.
Planning to just add Kenzie, and then because of schools being in
craziness.
Craziness, we added Jade to that as well.
Yeah,
so we just thought it was better that way.
So we kind of shuffle things around. Now we have our extra fridge and freezer from the garage in the breakfast nook. And
I'll post a picture on Twitter or something.
It's kind of ugly, but it's okay.
I think it looks nice. The pantry, it looks good.
But we're now using the dining room as the school space. And it actually has worked out really well for us. It's a little bit of if we decide to do lunch instead of dinner, sometimes it's kind of annoying because all of their school stuff is spread out. But a lot of times for us, it works out okay, because by the time we get to dinner, we can put away all of their school stuff, have dinner at the table like we normally do, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah. We put our china dishes, or whatever you're gonna call our nicer dishes, away in in long-term storage, because with a 4, 5, and 1-year-old, it doesn't really play out to have china to use very often anyway.
So we have a china cabinet that I turned into sort of our office and homeschool storage space.
Yeah. So you turn the nice fancy light on and you see everybody's books, versus seeing plates. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not really the kind of person to store fancy plates and stuff. Anyway, that's not really my.
Like I said, in 15, 20 years, they'll pull it out.
Maybe,
perfect.
Yeah, but so for us that works really well. Some people with less kids or with that are able to pare down more than we are, even just have like a rolling cart, which I think is really cool. But all of my office stuff is in that cabinet too. And then we have a bench that is on one side of our dining room table that is like a storage bench. And so all of the kids' craft supplies go in there. So it already kind of made sense for that space to become that.
Is against the wall. However, when you put a 6 and 7-year-old there and give them all sorts of pencils and crayons and everything else, we moved that bench yesterday, and it was like a whole 3 boxes of crayons plus, whatever, somebody's sandwich. And
it was gross.
This is not good. We need to move this more often.
Yeah. So we do we're 2 weeks into homeschool for the year, and we've been doing it mostly around the dining room table, and it's actually worked out really well for us. One of the things that we do that I think is really important is we have like those big science trifold boards, and those have kind of all of their like references and posters and things like that. So like Jamie and Josiah have one that's like the size of a normal piece of paper, but it has like the vowels, so that if I say what are your vowels, they have that right there. Or like counting by tens, how to spell like the colors, since some of those are a little bit weird, their spelling words for the week, their Bible verse for the week. So all of that is right there on their board.
Which is boards. I mean, you started doing that, I think, with Adri. I don't know if it was our first year or second.
No, I didn't do that until like last year. Okay. This is more of a recent development. And you can look on like Pinterest and come up with all sorts of ideas of that. But for us, it has been really nice because it kind of keeps everybody in their own lane and doing what they're supposed to be.
So, I mean, in a weird way, it's like the horse blinder idea, right? You put the blinders on and you focus on your work. Even if you're in a classroom setting, your teacher's going to say, everybody put your blinders on and read your lesson or whatever you're supposed to do.
So that has been really nice.
They said that in my school. I don't know if they said
I don't know that I ever had a teacher tell me that, Josh. That might be a little bit strange, but...
Well, they had me tested in 6th grade. Like, can this kid actually learn anything? So
I totally lost my train of thought now. Thanks a lot.
Sorry.
So anyway, it is nice though, because it's all right there. And this year I got smarter, and I ended up using a lot of like clear plastic sheet protectors. That way I can switch things out as much as I need.
So instead of taping all the paper?
Yeah. So that, or gluing it and then ripping it all off and it being a mess. Yes. So that has been really nice, because it means that like if there's stuff that I know that they're not using a whole lot, I can just switch it out for something else. But it means that a lot of the stuff that I need is always right there in front of them.
You just like to do it like the university billboard, where you just tape it over the top of the other paper.
No.
Just keep the pile growing.
So that is one critical component of our homeschool arrangement. And I don't really like having a lot of homeschool stuff on the walls. So, especially not since we use the dining room.
It's not like we want the ABC's decoration in our dining room when we're sitting there with family or somebody that comes over. We would rather that just be on their little quick board. They put it up. Fold it up. They have their little blinder corner.
Yeah, and we fold it up and put it behind the
and then it's easy
cabinet
to tuck away and whatever.
At the end of the day. Yeah.
I mean, not that, I'm sure guests would not be happy to see, trains of the alphabet across the dining room.
One reason though, so we do technically have the space to make a separate homeschool area. We could do that if we wanted to. But for us, having it kind of be integrated into the rest of our main living space is important. We put up a lot of gates this year, but it means that I can sit, just inside the living room and have the gate between the living room and the dining room. So I can be interacting with Obi while the kids are working on their work, and the kids can walk over to the gate and ask me a question and then go right back to what they were doing. Or I can sit on the dining room side and work on something on my laptop or whatever and interact with Obi, because he'll like come over and there's like a little ottoman that he'll come and stand on and like peek around into the dining room and play. So, for us having littles too, having that be right next to everything else that's going on actually is really important. because it means that I can interact with the baby and get schoolwork done at the same time. Another really important part then is some good headphones for your kids. Just like the board is kind of a visual focuser, the headphones are a great auditory focuser. And I have in the past, like if they have a day where they have a lot of seat work or a lot of paperwork to get done, I'll turn on like classical music or elevator music or whatever and just turn it on really low on their headphones, just as kind of a way for them to not get distracted with like conversations and other things going on. And again, that is just kind of something that's been really helpful because we are right next to everything else that's going on in the house. So there's kind of some good and bad to that, but I think, for us, it has really been beneficial to have our setup that way. So I would say if you are a family that doesn't have the space to have cute little individual desks for each of your kids or a dedicated homeschool space or anything like that, it really is okay. There's some easy options for still making, when we set up for school, it's very much like we're set up for school now, and this room is the school room until all of the poster boards are put away and the books are put away and things like that. So it sort of is like they know when the boards go up, it's school time. And it works out really well.
Yeah, the only snafu that we might run into is like when we have lunch, we'll be like, all right, this is messy lunch. We need to have it sit at the table. Oh, school's still set up. Well, I guess we're gonna eat in the kitchen, standing around, or wherever other space we can
go out and eat.
Picnic out or whatever.
Yeah, picnic.
So I mean, that's the only the boards are great until you were like, oh, well, you need to use the table, but we can't. So and it's not that it's not an easy, quick cleanup, but it's just once there's everybody's pencils or
everything's out. Yeah. So, but I mean, typically we don't use the dining room table except for dinner, though.
Right.
So it works well for us in general. The kids have started eating breakfast and lunch at the bar where they used to do school, so it works out pretty well.
Yeah.
The other negative I think about the boards is the kids can kind of hide behind them and not be working when I think that they're working. And so there have been a couple of times where I'm like, I'll look over and Jamie and Cy, because they do the same work, they'll just be like sitting there like thumb war or like, I don't know, just goofing off. And I have no idea, even though I'm sitting 3 feet away from them.
Right.
Because they're on the other side of a huge 3-foot board.
So you need to do like the teachers that are posting all their school board pictures right now where like they're all like plastic windows and you can see each kid. You need
or
to do that
like
where
just
you have like one little corner to see them.
Yeah, get like the baby rear view mirror situations and hang them on the wall behind them. I don't know.
One of those like corner mirrors in the ceiling.
Yeah.
But that would work. I could do it.
But it has worked out really well for us in general. So then after that, we have little boxes for each kid. What are those called? Like magazine holders? Those boxes? File boxes?
Yeah, they're just file boxes.
Yeah, I don't know. They're like maybe
a bin.
Yeah, they're like maybe 5 inches long and like wide enough or long enough to like put a book in.
Yeah. Or 7.
No, they're not quite. I don't think they're that big. But anyway, so each of the kids have a dedicated color. So like, for example, Adri has, what's Adri's color? Red. Adri's stuff is all red. So Adri has her box for the day.
It's like a rainbow, see?
And then she has a craft box, like a pencil case, that goes inside of that along with all of her books that she uses every day. So a lot of the kids' work we pull out and prep ahead of time, rather than giving them all of their school books. But like her reading book, her Bible, her spelling book, and some of her textbooks, like her history and science textbook, all of those go in her box. And along with a folder for that day's paperwork assignments or seat work. And so then she can kind of go through that as she wants to organize her day. And so, for us, that's been really nice. She'll kind of ask me, or she'll say like, we have art once a week, and she wants to always do that first. I'm like, nope, let's save that till the end of the day.
Yeah, they all like to do art.
Because
They're like, "Let's do
otherwise, she'll spend like 2 hours on an art assignment and not do anything else. Whereas if I, say that has to be the last thing you do, she like stays on task so she can get to whatever that project is.
Sure, makes sense. And then, like, still, I mean, she has as much time as she wants to work on that project. It's
Right.
just not preventing her from getting
Getting
everything
other
else
things done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like we're limiting her art time. It's just
Yeah.
we're making sure things are done before she spends all of her time doing art.
Yeah. So, but that for Adri has been really nice that she's allowed to pick what subjects she does. Goodness, what subjects she does and in what order. So she really likes having that autonomy. And that kind of helps her to stay motivated, that she knows, she just has to get through all of these papers and all of the things by the end of the day. Josiah and Jamie.
Yeah, and I like her having autonomy too, because like for the
Yeah.
few days that I get to help out, it's been nice, because then it's like she will ask for some support, and I try not to give too much, because I know she's supposed to do most of the reading and most of the figuring out what her tasks are, because that's what she would be expected to be able to do. So I try to hold it to that standard, but then at the end of the day, Katie comes back and she checks through, and she's like, she missed 3 pages, and I'm like, what? Why didn't I catch this?
Yeah.
I don't know. I need to have a better like review process for her, at least specifically, to make sure that by the time you're on your way back from your job, that she's done doing hers. So
Yeah, and it's always silly stuff. Like she won't write her spelling words for the day,
Right.
or like she'll just skip a whole section
Right,
on
right,
one of her
right. I mean,
pages.
math and writing and reading, like she brings those on, like we'll get those knocked out. And
Right.
there's other ones that is like, oh yeah, we didn't do that
Yeah.
because we were focused on the other stuff.
So, yeah, that does happen, especially with Adri and Josh. They're just too much alike. They don't.
I don't
Adri
know.
knows how to
Yeah,
to get away with that kind
I
of
told
stuff
I was
with
thinking
Dad.
I was thinking I need to get like I don't think we have chess in our game board things.
Oh yeah, I
And
don't think we do.
she
a
would
board
really
game.
do well in chess.
She probably would.
So
Yeah,
I was
that's true.
thinking I should probably get that, because I told her yesterday, I was like, you think 5 steps ahead. When you're making a deal with your siblings, you're already 5 steps ahead of what they're thinking. So you're like, here, I'll give you this and let you do that, and you give me all your candy, and then you win. And you've already thought like how you're going to get out of all your deals.
That is accurate, but also not the most flattering explanation of our daughter. So
She's going to be a great deal maker, and whatever she does, I don't know.
So then we have all of the days of the week color coded as well. And so then that makes it really easy to know, like, Monday's red day, Tuesday's orange, Wednesday's yellow, Thursday's green, Friday's blue. So, we can say like, okay, today's a blue day. And we over the weekend will mark their papers with the appropriate color and put them in the appropriate like day of the week color folder. But we do have some stuff where we want them to do the front one day and the back the next day. So they know they can kind of look and say like, I did all of my green color coded papers in my folder. And then I'll pull anything that's like half and half and put, the blue stuff into Friday's folder, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it keeps it orderly, and as long as you're not if they do the work ahead of time, it's not going to be a big issue. They just
Right, then they
will
have
it
less to
before
do the
next
next
lesson.
day.
Yeah, they'll just get it done before the next lesson. So,
But for us, that works really well to pull 1 week at a time. Because otherwise, like we've had issues in the past of like somebody dumps a cup of water on their book for the year, and then it's like
you have to
ruined.
order a whole new book.
Right.
Yeah. If you're just giving them, the 5 pages for the week, then you're not losing all
it's
all
very
the work.
traumatic.
So, well, I guess at our point, we're not even giving them the whole page for the week. We're giving them a page for each day. We're
For
just
each day,
5
yeah.
different folders, one for each day. So.
Yeah. Another way that we've done it in the past that works is to have a clipboard that opens and has space to store papers inside. And that does work really well also. So that would be a different way to kind of do the same thing. For us, we actually had bought some like file clipboards, and they wouldn't fit inside of the kids' boxes. And so that was kind of annoying. But it is something that we've used in the past, because then we can take it like even in the car. Most of our kids don't get car sick. We have one that does. So, which I do too. So, Cy and I are like two peas in a pod in that regard, as well as many others.
Yeah, it's hard. It's always hard when it's like we haven't traveled with them for a while, and it's like, oh man, I forgot.
But then, the other kids could like write their spelling words in the car, or like do some of that like simple, just like memorization, handwriting stuff in the car, with their little clipboards and a pencil and erasers inside, and their papers are inside. And so that has worked really well. And that is, another way to organize it. That's pretty easy.
Yeah. Just stay out the bumpy roads so you'll actually be able to read what they wrote. So
Yeah. That's a whole other issue. I told Josh that I should have considered, whether or not he had, legible handwriting as part of my, if he was good marriage candidate or not, which I did not. And he has disastrous handwriting. And, so it means I write all of the things for the kids for school, because nobody can read Josh's handwriting.
I mean, some people can read it. It's chosen language select.
Yeah, it's a mess.
I just assumed that meant she was never going to marry a doctor. So.
That is probably true. Obviously it wasn't really a criteria that I considered. Just saying,
Had you considered it
as a homeschooling parent, it
right.
probably would have been wise to consider. That's all right though. I think that's probably all of the big things.
Yeah.
Don't you?
So we got the color coded boxes and
and the colored days.
Colored days, and everybody gets a pack for the day.
Yeah, one of the things I guess I was going to say, a lot of people have like, everybody shares out of like a cool art box that like spins and is very fancy and cute. I like everybody having their own box with their crayons and their pencils and their stuff, so that there's kind of some amount of personal responsibility there with their supplies, just like there would be in a classroom.
Right. Everybody has their own thing. It's not like we got one pencil for everybody or one pencil sharpener for the class or something.
So, because I have one of our kids likes to chew on pencils, and we are working on that, but like nobody else wants to use the chewed on pencils, right? Like, or there's one kid that's very hard on their crayons. And so then they're, ruining all the crayons for everybody. When I have another kid who like keeps all of the things all year in the cardboard box inside of the pencil box, right? And like we'll take one crayon out and put it right back to where it was, when it was manufactured. And at the end of the year, all of the crayons are in the same color order that they were when we bought the box. And so, even though it means we have 4 sets of crayons and 4 sets of glue and 4 sets of whatever, it gives them sort of that personal freedom and responsibility for their belongings, which I do think is important. So, that is kind of the rationale there. But just in our house with our kids and their personalities, that's something that, for us is important in the way that we set up their school.
Yeah. So take notes, do what you can to think about what organized methods you used when you were in school, or just what you can do now for your kids. And just be encouraged that there's lots of help, and, know that everybody's trying to figure out how to set up their house, their home, their organize their kids' education.
Yeah. There's lots of different ways to do it. This is what has worked for us, and what works for us now. This is, I think this year we've done it differently than we have in years past, and it works well for us so far. But probably around November, I'm going to be wanting to change it. So
yeah, and that's the nice thing about homeschooling is that you are the one that gets to like modify as you go along. So
absolutely.
I mean, we're human, and we've always adapted and overcome issues and stuff like that. So I mean, adapt and make it work better. So
right, yeah, absolutely. So we of course would love to hear how you've organized, or things that you've done, things that you do differently than us, and why you've chosen that, or things that we've talked about that you would want to try.
Yeah. So like, subscribe, follow, do all those things, and we will see you on the next venture. Bye.
Bye.